But without the psychological understanding of man's whole makeup, the outer is always smashed. Now, how is it possible then to go into the deeper layers of consciousness? Because that is where most of our idiosyncrasies, most of our fears that create beliefs, most of our desires, ambitions, all lie hidden. How is it possible to open them up, to expose and understand them? Isn't it? If we can go, if we can have the capacity to delve into that and really experience these things, not verbally merely, then it is possible to be free of it. Take, for example, anger. To experience anger and be aware of anger without giving it a name. I do not know if you have ever tried, if you have ever experienced a state which is not named. If we have an experience, we give it a term. And we term it in order to explore it, or to communicate it, or to strengthen it. But we never experience a thing without name. That's extremely difficult, isn't it, for most of us? Verbalization comes almost before experience. And if we do not name, then perhaps it's possible to go into the deeper layers of consciousness. And that's why we must be aware, even at the superficial level, of our prejudices, fears and ambitions, of our fixations in a particular groove, whether we are young or old, whether left or the right. Therefore, there must be a certain discontent. Which is obviously denied to the older, because they don't want to be discontent. They are fixed, they are going to disappear slowly, therefore establish, crystallize in a particular groove and deny everything new. But surely discontent is necessary. Not the discontent that is easily canalized into a particular groove or a particular action and particular belief, but discontent that is never satisfied. Because most of our discontent arises from dissatisfaction. Moment we have found satisfaction, dissatisfaction ceases. Discontent comes to an end. So most of our discontent is really a search for satisfaction. Whereas discontent is surely a state in which there is no search for satisfaction. The moment I am easily satisfied, the problem is over. If I accept the left ideologies or the right or some particular belief, my dissatisfaction is easily gratified. But discontentment is of another quality, surely. Contentment is that state in which what is understood. To understand what is, there must be no prejudice. To see things as they are requires enormous alertness of mind. But we are easily satisfied that alertness is dulled, made blunt. So, our problem is in all this, which is question of relationship, is to be aware of ourselves in action. In what we are thinking, in what we are saying, so that in relationship we discover ourselves, we see as we are. But to superimpose our beliefs on what we are surely does not help to bring about understanding of what we are. And therefore it is necessary to be free of this imposition, political, sociological, or religious, and which can only be revealed in relationship. And as long as that relationship is not understood, there must be conflict, whether between two or between many. And that for the ending of that conflict there must be self-knowledge. And it is only when the mind is quiet, not made quiet, then only is it possible to understand reality. Many questions have been given, and naturally they cannot all be answered. But I will try to answer as many representative questions as possible, though sometimes the questions may be put in different words, change the terms, so I hope you will not mind. I believe if I am perfectly honest, I have to admit that I resent and at times hate almost everybody. It makes my life very unhappy and painful. I understand intellectually that I am this resentment, this hatred, but I cannot cope with it. Can you show me a way? I believe if I am perfectly honest, I have to admit that I resent and at times almost hate everybody. It makes my life very unhappy and painful. I understand intellectually that I am this resentment, this hatred, but I cannot cope with it. Can you show me a way? Now what do we mean by intellectually? When we say that I understand something intellectually, what do we mean by that? Is there such thing as intellectual understanding? Or merely we understand the words because that's the only way to communicate with each other, the mind? Do we understand anything verbally? So that is the first thing we have to be clear. Whether the so-called intellectual understanding is not an impediment to understanding. Surely understanding is integral, not separate, not partial. Either I understand something or I don't understand something. So to say to oneself that I understand something intellectually is surely a barrier to understanding. It's a partial process and therefore no understanding at all. Now, the question is this: how am I, who I am resentful, hateful, how am I to be free or cope with that problem? How do we cope with a problem? What is a problem? Surely a problem is something which is disturbing. Please, may I suggest something? You just follow what I am saying. Don't try to solve your problem of resentment and hate. Just follow it. Because it's difficult to go into this so that at the end of it you're free of it, if we can do it now. It'll be a rather interesting experiment to try with each other. I am resentful, I am hateful, I hate people. And it causes pain. And I am aware of it. What am I to do? It's a very disturbing factor in my life. What am I to do? How am I to really be free of it? Not just kind of momentarily slough it off, but fundamentally be free of it. How am I to do it? Now, it is a problem to me because it disturbs me. If it wasn't a disturbing thing, it wouldn't be a problem to me, would it? Because it causes pain, disturbance, anxiety. I think it's ugly. Therefore, I want to get rid of it. Therefore, the thing that I am objecting to is the disturbance. Isn't it? I give it different names according to at different times, different moods. I call it one day this and one day another thing another. But the desire basically is not to be disturbed. Isn't that it? Because pleasure is not disturbing, therefore accept it. I don't want to be free from pleasure. Because there is no disturbance, at least for the time being. But hate, resentment are very disturbing factors in my life, and I want to get rid of it. So what I am concerned is not to be disturbed.